Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming today. My name is Leigh Graham, and you know Erin, of course, here. We decided to do this together again because we had so much fun last time, and I definitely recognize some of you, including Mama. So thanks again for coming. Remember, you can ask questions all the way throughout, and we look forward to the participatory nature of it all. This is for you, so we want you to get what you want out of it. So we're going to talk about muscle today and its implications for your long-term health and longevity, and some of the other benefits of muscle, how you can get it, and if you can keep it. If you feel like you have a decent amount of muscle right now that you want to keep, this is for you. If you feel like you don't have any right now, this is for you. So a little bit about vintage fitness. I'm going to let Erin tell you.
Sure. So the top picture is actually one of our trainers, Dee, who's 81 now. So she's a good example for us about staying active and strong. Ages, she can still lift her kayak in the water. So she's a bit of an inspiration for us. So we're older adult fitness specialists. I know we know most of you. I think a lot of you know this, but if you happen to be new to us, we only train seniors. So all our clients are 65 and up. Our oldest one, I think, is 98 right now. So it's a kind of a broad range. Clients do achieve lasting results, but it's really consistent, slow progress. It's not the kind of the really fast 90-day transformation kind of progress. And the company was founded in 2005. So we've been doing this work for quite a long time now.
So this webinar is for you if, as I said, you're worried about losing your strength or muscle mass or function as you age. If you feel like you're already doing really great, or if you're not sure you're doing everything you need to stay strong and independent. If you're over 50 and fit already, or just getting started, or anywhere in between, this is for you. Or you're just curious to learn how muscle can affect your long-term health. We're glad you're here. A little bit about me. I have a degree in kinesiology from Western. I'm an older adult fitness specialist, and I've been working predominantly with seniors for 20 years in fitness, in a group capacity with marginalized seniors, and then in a health club for mature adults. And finally, in personal training related business that I started 12 years ago, specializing in seniors. I'm now excited to join Vintage Fitness and watch as it continues to grow and transform lives.
So my name's Erin. I've been an older adult specialist for 25 years. I have a biology undergrad, a master's in biology, and an MBA. And exciting news, when Leigh says she's excited to join, she actually is the new owner of Vintage Fitness. We did write a blog about it, but we're kind of transitioning now, but I'm super happy that she's decided to buy the business, and it's such a great fit, and we've been working well together all the way along. So that's some exciting news if you're a Vintage Fitness follower.
All right, so muscle. We're going to talk about muscle as the key for your health and longevity. We talk about bone health a lot and the importance of that. And of course, that is very important. Aging is commonly associated with the loss of strength and muscle mass. And then that can be characterized by increased fall risk, feelings of weakness, and general functional decline. But is this inevitable? A lot of people think it is, and general functional decline. But a lot of the studies have focused on those seniors that were sedentary and not living a physically active lifestyle. So this begs the question, are the changes associated with muscle aging due to actual physiology or due to atrophy through disuse? So we're going to look at a couple studies today. Then we're going to talk about the benefits, and then we'll talk about some of our client successes. All right, so pop quiz here. You can either say it out loud or you can pop it in the chat. Do you think you can hang on to your muscle as you age? Yes or no?
Yes.
Woohoo! Oh, you didn't know all the answers already. Okay, can older adults build muscle and strength at the same rate of younger ones?
I don't
No.
know about right.
Yes or no? I had some no's and some yeses, I think, right? Okay. Okay, we're going to find out.
What is more important, mobility or strength?
I like it, Tony. You're adding a new question to the pop quiz.
That's awesome, Tony. That's awesome. Okay, well, can we have both?
I think my answer would be it's hard to have strength without mobility. So I think of the mobility around the muscles around the joint, and then you strengthen them. I think if I can only get my arm up to here, it's hard for me to build the strength in that shoulder because I'm so tight. I'm not mobile enough. So I think one is a precursor to the other.
And then I would say it's also it's a virtuous circle, like the chicken before the egg. Like if you get strong in your core, you can be more mobile through the extremities.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 pictures. When I was in school, I saw similar pictures of a cross section of muscle fibers in my Western class, Physiology of Activity and Aging. I'll go over that in a second. But we're going to look at like a bilateral cross section MRI imaging of quadriceps. So I want you to guess which one of these belong to younger adults that are active, and what this one represents is and
maybe just go through what they're looking at.
Okay, so
this
you're
is the
looking
bone.
at a quadricep muscle inside the bone. Yeah, this is the femur bone inside. So it's like as if you go right across the thigh bone and you're looking at the muscle. So this here is fat around the muscle, and this little marbling inside is also fat, adipose tissue. And then this part here is quadriceps. So which of these pictures do you think represents an older adult who is sedentary?
That one.
Which one?
How do we show which one we think? The
You
bottom
guys-
left.
Yeah. Bottom left.
The older adult who's sedentary? Okay. Mhm.
Oh, no. Sorry. I was thinking active.
Okay.
The active or older adult, I would think. The middle one must be the sedentary,
Yep.
for sure.
And what's this one on the right?
Young, healthy.
Yeah. Good answers. Do we have any guesses?
The healthy one's on the left.
Really?
I don't know for sure. I mean, it's got that white band around it, right?
So
The
this
ele-
white band is
But that's fat, isn't it?
a bit of fat. Yeah.
Oh, it's flat. Okay.
So
Okay. Gotcha.
these two are both looking pretty similar and healthy. This one looks very different, right?
And so less fat's good. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, you did really well there. This one here is a sedentary older adult at the top. And then on the right at the bottom, that's an active older adult in comparison to an active younger adult on the left at the bottom. So they're very similar.
Well, I think that's the opposite to our screen.
I guess the message is that they're kind of similar, so that the top one is so different, and that's what happens when you become sedentary. But if you're an active older adult, you can keep muscle that's pretty similar to a younger person that's also active. I think that's the big message.
Exactly. And if you move your body, your muscles will look, that different top to bottom. Yeah. All right. So the story I was going to tell you about being in school, and the reason why I got into seniors fitness in the first place, is in my Physiology of Activity and Aging class, we studied the muscle fibers of this young man named Albert, who would run around the track every time the Mustangs scored a touchdown. And we actually looked at his muscles in particular in the same format that we just saw those other ones. And I was absolutely blown away to find out that his muscles looked exactly like kind of some of ours, when we were working out so hard and we were in our 20s. around that same time, my uncle was about 70 and he had invited me to visit him in BC and decided to go
Similar.
mountain biking. And I, thought I would try to go easy on him. It turned out he could totally kick my butt, even though I was in the best shape I've ever been in my 20s and very physically fit. So it really opened my mind and my eyes to what's possible if you just keep moving. And I realized that there's no way you have to let it go that way. Of course, some of it is luck, but if you are able to move, doing everything you can to be unreasonable to continue moving is the way to go. So just going to share a couple of studies with you right now, just to show you a bit more of the data around it. So this one here, the study evaluated whether high levels of chronic exercise prevents the loss of lean muscle mass and strength experienced in sedentary aging adults. So this was actually studying high-level recreational athletes, masters athletes, between the ages of 40 and 81. They trained 4 to 5 times a week and underwent all these tests. They did test again the muscle in the quadricep area, the amount of fat and adipose tissue, as well as other things like body composition and peak torque, just like maximum strength. So they found that the quadriceps peak torque, the maximum strength, didn't decline with age, and specific strength didn't decline significantly with age. So this study contradicts the common observation that muscle mass and strength decline as a function of aging alone. Instead, these declines may signal that the effect of chronic disuse rather than muscle aging, and that the maintenance of muscle mass and strength may decrease or eliminate the falls, functional decline, and loss of independence that are commonly seen in aging adults. So it's exciting news, and it's also it's a big responsibility, because that means if you're able, you got to go for it and you got to keep going for it. Now, if you're wishing that you were a master's athlete, or maybe you'd started a little bit earlier, or wondering if you have to be an elite level athlete to see benefits, then this next study is for you. So this is another one that compelled me to go into seniors fitness back in 2007 under the Buck Institute in California and McMaster University. It showed that resistance training can reverse aging in the muscle tissue of senior citizens at the genetic expression level. So not just muscles, but all of it. And
which is probably worth emphasizing, that you can actually change your genetics.
exactly.
Here.
We reverse the genetics. So
Yeah.
this one was the most compelling study like I ever needed to know. I was just like, and there have been so many since, and I can share more links, but it absolutely blew me away. I'm like, everybody needs to know this. So this is really cool, because it was a study of people aged 70 and older that only underwent 6 months of twice weekly resistance training. So it's very similar to like a vintage fitness program where we're like 2 times a week, 6 months, commit to 6 months or a year at least to start. And then, you'll see results. It just takes a little bit of time. It doesn't happen overnight. Anyway, they compared their tissue samples taken from healthy men and women aged 20 to 29. And the analysis of the gene expressions in healthy disease-free humans showed that exercise resulted in a reversal of the genetic fingerprint to levels similar to those seen in younger adults. And they did actually gain strength at a rate similar to the younger adults. So even though they had less to begin with, they gained it at the same rate, which blows me away. The 25 older participants had never participated in formal weight training, and the younger ones had an average age of 22. So this shows that it's never too late to start exercising, and you don't have to spend your life pumping iron in the gym.
It might be worth noting here too, that sometimes people, you have to just make sure you're challenging yourself when you weight train, not so heavy that you're going to get injured. That's not what we're talking about, but building yourself up slowly. So if you have 2-pound weights that you've used for the last 15 years and you're like, wow, this is so easy, you need to adjust. As you get stronger, you lift heavier things. And the stat I always tell our female clients is, your handbag is between 9 and 12 pounds.
Yeah.
So 3 pounds probably isn't, unless you're recovering, rehabbing, maybe our frail older adults, we go with that range, but you need to lift properly, but lift enough that it feels like a challenge for you.
Yeah, so if you finish a set of bicep curls with a weight, you should be feeling like, oh, I would like a break right now. That would be nice.
Yeah.
If it feels like nothing, you probably are already beyond that, and it won't be building muscle strength or muscle mass for you anymore. Yeah. And if you can carry that purse or your grandkids, then you can probably lift a little bit more. All right. And so that same study was showing, again, mitochondrial function, the powerhouse of cells, and exercise resulted in a reversal of the decline in human skeletal muscle at the level of gene expression.
Because what happens with the mitochondria as we age, and this comes in menopause, which is a while ago for some of us, but kind of pretty relevant currently for me. But your mitochondria, they get a little bit lazy, the powerhouse of the cell. And so by doing certain types of training, you're kind of firing those mitochondria up, which is kind of what they showed in this study.
Yeah. And so I did put the links in there too, so they can check it out a little bit more if you want to nerd out on it a bit more. And it's awesome. And then they also did a follow-up 4 months after the completion of the study, after that 6 months, and showed that the older participants were maintaining the benefits they gained during the project. And they were just doing resistance training at home as they had learned, similar to, again, some of our programs. So that's really exciting. So it's good to know that we can hang on to it. And some of you guys have guessed that we can, but what's the point? Muscles, they look great. So that's a good start. And I think more and more people are getting into weight training now, younger women, older men, older women, we're all into it now. We all know we need strength. But one of the things that we notice with our clients for sure is that once you build some muscle, you have a lot less pain. You can move with more ease. You have gained stability and alignment. So when you're working your muscles, we make sure we're doing it with proper form so that you can have good posture. What else?
Reduce falls, for sure.
That's a big one. And then what about the mental health benefits? We know it's huge. Any kind of movement helps with that. But building muscle helps with your metabolism, your mood, your brain.
Yeah, brain is a big one. Like people, obviously it's good for things like dance, boxing. Those things have definitely been proven for brain health. But if you're doing a complicated weight move where you're kind of balancing on one foot and like doing something with a resistance band, your brain is also like, what's happening? Or if your trainer gives you 4 exercises and says, okay, start with exercise 1, and you have to think, oh, what was that? So weight training can have some big brain benefits as well, for sure.
Absolutely. And then muscle memory that you built helps you to choose better patterns, even just subconsciously in your daily life. So once you learn how to use certain muscle groups together, particularly the powerhouse, your core, those muscles will kick in for you when you miss the curb or whatever, and then they'll tighten for you just because they're used to tightening because you've practiced. So you built that brain-body connection.
The other thing that we sometimes talk about is people are saying, well, I have an active life. I don't need to work out at the gym, or I don't need to strength train. I have sympathy for that argument. I mean, I think all of us need to have an active life. We need to kind of park farther, walk to the transit. All of these things are a hugely important part of having a healthy lifestyle. The one thing I would say is we try to train you so that your life isn't exhausting. That, if you are going on this great active trip and you're climbing stairs, you're walking on cobblestones, you're climbing into ships and on excursions, we want you to do that and just feel great and do what you want to do because of your work in the gym. So we're training you so that all of the things you want to be able to do, go out, socially, go, you know, whatever it is you want to do, it's not exhausting, so that you don't come
Yeah.
home and just like flake out.
Yeah, I heard from a client the other day who said, you know, she was going to the theater downtown and, you know, the elevator was broken. She had to take the stairs. She couldn't believe she could do it and that she felt
Yeah,
good
perfect.
after.
Yeah.
She had to walk longer because of this elevator thing. And so stuff happens like that, right? And you need to be able to have the ability to manage it for it to be fun. You don't want to be toast the next day, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a couple of questions on the chat. Maybe we can.
Oh, yes, let's have a look.
I can look. So we have. Oh wow, this is a long one. Okay.
Oh,
So
let's
that's
I
maybe
think there's
direct.
more up. There's more up.
Yeah, that was it. That was
Oh,
it.
okay.
That was about protein.
And then I think there's one more after. Oh,
This was
Albert.
somebody
Oh,
saying.
yeah, you remember
So
him.
this is a private message, so we might want to
Okay.
maybe not read that one out. Okay, so is resistance training or strength training better? They're the same thing.
Same
It's
thing.
just the same way of saying the same thing. Their preferred type of exercise. I'll let you take this one. Walking, swimming, biking. That seems more effective. Frequency. Is frequency or duration more effective? Is it individualized? So there's a couple. This is a 5-tiered question. For you.
Okay, yeah. So, like Erin said, is resistance training or strength training better? Great question. If you watch the last webinar that we did, you will find that it's great. They're actually the same thing. So, strength training, resistance training, weight training, they're all different names for the same thing, working your muscles and making them stronger and building more muscle mass. In terms of the type of exercise that we're talking about here, it would require resistance of a certain kind. You will use your muscles swimming, biking, and walking, but we're talking more specifically, less about cardio, more about focusing on the heavy, like what feels heavy for you right now in terms of a challenge for the muscles specifically, and not as much for the heart, even though of course you would do those as well. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, walking, swimming, and biking are all beneficial, depending on what's happening with each individual client. So if somebody has a lot of arthritis in their knees and their hips, they're rehabbing from a joint replacement, then we will probably get you in the water. If somebody has bad osteoporosis, we'd probably get you walking. If somebody has a lot of kyphosis, like this rounded shoulders, we probably wouldn't get you on the bike because the biking is kind of here. So we look at each individual person and say, what's happening with their body? What activity do they like? What is accessible for them? But all three of those can be equally beneficial.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say one is better than another.
Yeah, for sure. It will depend on the individual. It also depends on what you like and what you're actually going to do, because of course the results come from whatever it is that you actually do. And usually we'll do more of what we really like.
So the second part of that question, which you can see if you look in the chat, but I've heard it's important to work up a sweat to begin retraining the brain, to increase your dopamine, to fire up your muscles, etc. Is that what you found? Do you want to
go ahead?
Yeah. So there is something about neural pathways, which I think is what you're referring to with this work up a sweat. So if you want to kind of give your nervous system a little bit of like Peter Attia, outlive, that kind of work. He talks a lot about that, Dr. Peter Attia, where you're doing something that's hard enough for you that kind of fires up your nervous system, that will get your metabolism in the mitochondria going. So that is true for that. There's also benefits. You just have to be a bit careful, because when you're doing that kind of work, there's more prone to injury. So you can do that. That's where a bike would be good, where you're going a little faster. Don't have impact on the bike. You're going a little faster and kind of firing at that nervous system and doing some intervals. But that has to be careful. You have to be careful based on if you have issues with heart disease in the family. So yes, there is benefit to what you're saying, working up a sweat, or kind of like getting that nervous system fired up. But it has to be done quite carefully, and it's not necessarily appropriate for every person, depending on what health conditions they're managing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And we build the foundation first, and we build the posture first. And then again, we build the strength on there, and then we can build kind of more intensity on top of there. So frequency and duration will be then chosen on an individual basis. Does that
Good.
answer your question?
Good questions.
Yeah,
Great.
really
Keep
good
them coming.
questions. Love it. All right.
So we wanted to share a couple of client examples. This is a woman who is kind of active her whole life, but she's 67 now. She feels more energetic than she has, and her story is a lot about bone density. So she's quite small in stature, which sometimes can be a risk factor for bone density. So she had a bone density test. And with the extra weight training that she's been doing, her T-score, if you have osteoporosis, your T-score numbers, but it was minus 1.3 and it improved to minus 1.8, which is just much lower risk. So this was her husband that was telling us about this. So osteoporosis is one big benefit that we've seen with strength training with our clients. So this is Donna, and her story is more about confidence and reduction of pain. So the strength training really, like, her posture looks great there. She really started to feel better about herself and more confident with her body and what her body could do. And part of that was alleviating some of the joint pain that she was having. And again, that's through strength training. You're not going to get that as much through cardio alone. You need to lubricate the joint, and you need to strengthen the muscles that support that joint. So that was Donna.
Yeah, and there's actually someone on the call today that started with Vintage Fitness about 19 years ago when it first started and had pain at that time, and 20 years later doesn't. It really is amazing if you just stick with it over time.
Pain and low bone density. There was bone density.
Yes, that's
there,
right.
I remember that.
And trouble getting off the couch, but now she's up and down off the floor. You know who you are.
And the thing I love about that is you're essentially getting stronger every year.
Exactly. Like now at 80 something, she's way stronger and way happier and more pain free than she was at 60 something.
Yeah, I love that.
It's awesome. So cool. Yeah.
And then we have Peter, who big reduction in weight. So he's been with us he trains with Christy. He's been with us for a really long time. Is it 6-7 years? Something
I think
like
5.
That? Oh, 5.
Yeah.
So he can, I don't know if I'd always recommend this, but this was his words. He could shovel snow for over an hour. I don't know if I can do that.
But before he couldn't tie his shoes,
yes,
he had trouble.
Without tiring. He had a lot of knee and low back issues for over 30 years. It's just amazing, isn't it? If someone suffers with something for 30 years and working around for the last 5 years around these areas, his knees feel much better. And he's just got a lot of strength in the low back. So he's not having the same kind of pain. And I wanted to mention a lot of it for him is his connection with his personal connection with his trainer, Christy. He likes her approach. He likes her attention to detail and knowledge of the body and muscle. So making sure you click with your trainer is really important and will impact your results.
Absolutely. And now Peter's lifting a lot of weight. It may or may not be your goal at one point. You do lift the weights up, like Erin said earlier, as you get stronger anyways. A lot of times, I think sometimes women have told us, we're afraid to get bulky. Mm-hmm. It's tough to get bulky. It's okay. You can raise the weight up and you'll just get stronger. You'll still keep your feminine physique.
Okay. You're welcome, Mary.
All right. So, I think we already gave away the plot twist here on what we can do to build and keep muscle. It is important to stay at it over time, right? It's not easy and it's not always fun. Not everybody loves going to the gym or doing it in your living room. We try to make it a little bit more fun for you, have some laughs with you, choose exercises that you don't really dislike. Choose equipment that you might be more predisposed to use on your own as well, and give you homework that you can try. Resistance training needs to happen, whether that's with your body weight, with a combination of body weight, weights, resistance bands, or gym equipment. Climbing stairs is another way that you can build muscle. And then just circling back, progressive overload again is just making sure that once you get stronger, you keep elevating the intensity and the resistance level so that you can continue to build strength and muscle mass.
There was a question at the beginning of the webinar about lean protein. So, we have to be careful. We are not nutritionists, we're trainers. So, within our scope would be Canada's food guide. But there is a huge range of what's recommended for protein. World Health Organization, I think, is 0.4 grams per kilogram, which is really low. I mean, that would be like just maintaining, that would be really low. And weight trainers will go, really
like
high up.
gram per kilogram.
So 1 gram per kilogram. Some of them you can do 1 gram per pound. So if you go somewhere in the middle, so if you are 150 pounds and you think, okay, well, I want to get at least, I don't know, 70, 80 grams of protein a day. That's kind of a good range, and good lean sources. And what those are: whey protein if you're not a vegetarian,
eggs, chicken breast,
fish.
Try to focus on ones that don't have too much fat. Breaded, fried.
It's stuff that you've heard before, but for the most part, I'd say most older adults we see are not eating enough protein, I would say.
Especially it helps when you're trying to build muscle, which we all are now, right? After this compelling video.
Nuts and nut butters, especially if you're trying to put on a little bit of weight, that's like all that great healthy fat and a good protein source. So I don't know if that answers the question. We do food tracking. So if you work with us, you can keep a food diary and your trainer can look at that and give you some individualized advice. But for the most part, usually increasing the protein is recommended for most of our clients, depending on what they're doing now.
And getting some in for breakfast is great for energy levels, and also just to keep you on track, not reaching for things that you don't want to put in there, and making sure you get enough of what you want in there: protein, veggies, etc.